Hey everyone, Depressed Dior here again with some more Langrisser Mobile Apex. So, just a quick update on what's been going on. If you've been watching my other videos, you probably saw that I drew an Akaya. Actually, I drew two Akayas, so I have a 4-star Akaya. For the most part, she's not really going to be available for me for Apex anytime soon, so I don't really plan on using her. The only time I might use her is if I ever need to actually start using Angelica again for her time faction stuff, since Angelica can easily make a pet, and then I can kill the pet and then get free rolls that way. Speaking of Angelica, through the story, I finally have her 6 stars. Doesn't really make much of a difference for Angelica, but now her troops regenerate to 100% health at the end of all of our turns, so that's pretty helpful. And I've been focusing on troop training lately and trying to max out the attack power of my mages, holy units, and demons, and I'm about 2 levels away from completely maxing out attack power, which definitely makes a huge difference since I use a great deal of mages, and mages already do a lot of damage. So our opponent here is Purpose. I've never fought him before, I don't think. Mostly standard kit here. The usual tanks, usual 4 healer setup. Seemed to favor a mix of multiple factions, though it seemed to lean heavier towards Princess and Origins of Light. Had a little bit of Glory, but I think that's just in case, just for Elements faction buff that buff up Yulia there. But obviously I see a Leon, so I'm going to be starting with a Leonhardt. No changes in my box yet. I just haven't had real time to kind of go over things. I've been kind of getting prepared to, more likely when I make a change, it's going to be probably when D-Lit comes out. In any case, they banned my usual top tier characters, Yulia, Assassin Zerida, and of course Listel. I banned their... I obviously went for Luna because if there's a juggler, that juggler can buff Luna. And of course I took care of Zerida because I don't want to deal with assassins. They left me with my Claret, so I took Claret. They went for my faction buffers, which I didn't care because I don't use them. They took Yulia, so I'm going to have to deal with the self-resing nonsense. So I went ahead and took care of Tiaris, mainly because of Juggler, but it also helps out for dealing with Yulia, because if you have Tiaris and Yulia is just going to heal even more. Got rid of Elwyn, so now he has no faction buffers for Yulia at all. The only buffers that could possibly buff her now is Liana and Rachel there, which is in a faction buff. Took Tiaris because I want to go for the Wombo combo with Claret. I have plenty of mages, so they went for my mages. He took Hiei. This is the first time I've had to deal with a Hiei ever, so this will be new. I went ahead and went for a second healer and took out Bozal. This is just to force them to pick a healer, and then I can pretty much pick and choose what I want to get rid of next. They left me with my Lana, which is actually my strongest mage, so I was pretty happy about that. Nothing too special there. As you can see, my setup tends to flow the same way over and over again. You know, I get my tank, get my Claret, get my TRS, get my mage, and then I usually get a backup healer / nuker. They went with Iris for their healer, which is probably the best of all worlds for me. All I have to worry about is the teleport, and for the most part, most of these guys can't do anything. The only faction buff that's available is Juggler, and he can only buff himself and Hiei. So I took care of Rachel, took care of Landius. That ensured that he had no gospel buffs, and I didn't want to deal with Landius' self-resing nonsense. So I was a little concerned about Sherry, because Sherry has a stun, and also sometimes has the ability to bypass guard, though that ability is not as good on a Sherry. But I was like, Sherry doesn't have any faction buffs, so it will just be raw damage. So I was kind of okay with that. Of course, I took my my close. They of course took Sherry. Alright, so turn on that real quick. So, main thing to note here is this Sherry is super strong. Has higher power than my higher attack power than my Claret. and about similar. And this one's very different because it uses Earth Elf Knights, which are an assassin that can move 5. As a plus 30% soldier crit chances plus 30%, and upon doing crits, they'll steal a buff and apply a strong debuff, which is kind of interesting. Nothing too special here with Iris. Just got Bolt Rangers and teleport heals. Hiei, like I mentioned before, this is the first time I've dealt with a Hiei. I know about his like AoE partial immunity type stuff, but I was mostly concerned about Dragon of the Darkness Flame since I lets up AoE and take another action. And everything else is kind of not the worst situation, except for the Fist of the Mortal Flame, which I greatly underestimated. I made a lot of mistakes in this fight. Yulia, okay power, but since she's using unicorns and 2 of my troops are spears, this Yulia is actually not that dangerous. Also, it's just magic damage, and most of my characters are resistant to magic. And of course, Juggler here, pretty standard setup, Great Dragon Barrier, Triton, so full tank build here. So, let's see, oh, and one thing to note about the Sherry, does have the Shadow Raid, which goes pretty well with the Earth Knights. Shadow Raid is 2 range. The problem is of course, Earth Knights don't do well in melee, because they're assassins. So her Raging Storm, which is her 3-cost skill, is actually not the best. From the looks of it, I think majority of these characters are 6 stars. I don't know about Hiei. I'm assuming I know Yulia is. I can tell by the reses. So we'll see how it is. So go ahead. Oh, updates to Apex. It keeps track of your damage now, and you can actually see it during the fight. And at the end of if you run out of time, whoever does the most damage actually wins now. We got that going for us. Anyway, pretty standard setup. I'm gonna go ahead and get Claret prepared. Juggler opened with Triton and not his faction buff, so I went ahead and moved in, got my half faction buff thing going. I'm gonna have this teleport coming in, not a big deal. And I go zooming. The reason I'm going straight for the tank is in hopes of killing it, and not just because it's a tank, but also because he hasn't faction buffed yet. So if I take it out now, Hiei will be without a faction buff. First Strike didn't quite do enough damage, so I'm at minus 50% attack now, or damage right now, but with Attack Blessing and the extra movement, it was more than enough to finish it off. So, Roar. Also, Roar removed his water buff, so he was pretty much just dead at that point. And this will force my opponent to waste turns just finishing off the Claret, which is fine by me. Went ahead and moved in with Starglow just to remove a little bit of the buffs that are on Sherry. I was pretty confident that my close could tank a hit from Sherry since Sherry has no faction buff. So I was a little confused. For whatever reason, for some reason Eternal Legend didn't proc, and I don't know why. I've noticed this before too. It happened with one on an AI battle I did. Like at 6 stars, you should have a 100% chance of getting Eternal Legend to heal yourself with Yulia, and it didn't. So I was really confused on why that happened, because Claret has no special abilities that prevent healing. So I don't know what happened there. Also, I mentioned I made a lot of mistakes in this match, and one of them was this one. I moved in and did Whirlwind Staff, which is usually a safe move, but I really should have opened with Phoenix Wave. Even if it only hit one target, it's a lot better, simply because it lets me get immunity to all debuffs, and I really needed that immunity for this fight. But unfortunately, I didn't. So, range attack, of course it was just troops only, so it did literally nothing. And that Yulia is pretty much the thing I'm focusing on. That, and I'm kind of concerned about the range that Hiei has. Like I mentioned before, this is the first time I've dealt with EA, so I wasn't sure what was going to happen here. I went ahead and moved in with Tiaris, because with the with their buff I reduced all damage by 15%, so I was pretty confident that I could tank a hit. Also, I was apparently, I don't think I was immune to fixed damage, was I? Oh, I was immune, well, no I wasn't. Probably, let's see, was I immune to? I didn't see. I was not. Okay, so didn't really matter too much because sorceresses aren't really made for defense. So I did Aurora Ring, and that was a huge mistake. Because Dragon Darkness Flame gets another action, and then he immediately goes for Fist of the Mortal Flame, which apparently increases the amount of damage you take and makes it so you get reverse healing and it can't be removed. But it did put Hiei in range for Dark Reaper, so I went and finished him off. But essentially my tank is on her last legs. There's no way for me to remove it, so even if I did Phoenix Wave or whatever it's called, it would just kill her faster. So all I could do was just kind of heal everybody else up and get prepared. And I can't risk attacking, so I just pass the turn with her. But like I mentioned before, the soldiers can't do much in melee, so they actually wasn't enough to get the kill until after the self-heal procced, which was enough to trigger Sherry's passive, which was her attack back again. But at that point, she had nothing left but her normal attacks, which wasn't enough to deal with Lana there. I tried to make an attack against Yulia since I had spears versus Cav, but it wasn't quite enough. And then I get hit with Discipline, but barely survived it. I really did not deserve that. I should have died for that, because I was really dumb in this part. I really should have moved. I should have acted with Lana first and just killed somebody at that point. That would have helped out a lot. I mean, I could have at least maybe gone for Yulia, forced a self-res, and then forced the Iris to act or something like that. But instead I went with Close, which really didn't have a high chance of actually getting a kill, especially in Forest. So, like I said, if I had lost Lana, that would have been game over there. At this point, we're just trading people, so it was pretty rough. So I went ahead and moved in, got the attack blessing up on Lana. I was a little concerned about whether or not Purpose would attack with Close, or not Close, but Iris, but didn't. Instead focused on healing, so I went straight for getting a kill on Yulia using Cleanse, where self-res will proc, but I get to remove any buffs that she had, and I get to heal the full. So, Godly Menace, with minimum troops and no faction buff, and I'm still buffed. Doesn't quite do enough. And it doesn't even root her enough because it only debuffs her movement by 3. So I went ahead and took this opportunity to go ahead and finish off Sherry. I wasn't concerned about the assassins, they just don't do enough damage. Just in kind of comparison, at full health my sorcerers would have over 1200 attack versus like, you know, 800 for the unicorns. So the main difference between myself and my opponent was mainly troops. My troops were just so much stronger than his. I think his lobsters might have been okay, but everything else just lacked punch. And having no faction buff meant no buffs for the troops too, so it just added up. At this point I'm just kind of finishing things off. Pretty much preparing my Lana for another strike. So Yulia goes in to try to take on my Lana, and be able to say it goes about as well as you expect it to. My mages are just that much stronger. At this point, my opponent said, "I'm dead," and I responded with, "I'll protect you," and then he gave up. So yeah, first time fighting a Hiei, I need to be more aware about his health healing debuff, because I honestly probably didn't deserve that one. I made so many mistakes. Alright, so yeah, doing one more. I have rank protection, so even if I lose, I wasn't too worried about it. This person's kit was a lot of assassins, which unfortunately I don't really have a really good answer to. And they banned my claret, which was probably their smartest decision. I ended up grabbing Yulia, which honestly was not the best call on my end. I should have probably grabbed Luna, since Luna could at least give me some range. The thing that kind of killed me was my lack of mobility for this fight. That, and I just have still not very much experience dealing with Hiei. Grabbing Yulia, I should have banned their Hiei, because Hiei's anti-heal was a problem. Of course, that wasn't the only problem. There was, of course, Listel there as well. So, pretty much I let him have all the anti-heals while I grabbed TRS. I went ahead and grabbed Young Jessica, so this will be my first attempt to use Young Jessica. I was hoping that her range would help, which it kind of did, but it also kind of didn't because, well, you'll see soon enough, I guess. And grab my close. So against something that's non-assassin, this would be a decent setup I have. But I am fighting assassins, so I'm kind of in trouble. So yeah, all these opponents, first of all, they have better troops than my previous opponent. Tons of HP. They have their TRS. TRS is not a big deal. Zerda here only has Shadow Raid, but Obliterate will buff up Hiei there. And these bandits are actually, I think these are top tier bandits. So, crazy stuff there. Yeah, I should have first banned the Zerda. I went ahead and popped Phoenix Wave immediately, just so I can get the immunity to debuffs. And I went and popped Divine Bestowment. I went single target with Young Jessica, hoping to maybe snipe some of these. I'm super paranoid about anti-heal right now, so I'm kind of spreading out, getting my miracles up. So, I got myself my buff up. Fortunately, I'm going to end up getting him with Reaper's Touch on Yulia, which is who you definitely don't want it on. So, attack Blessing on Young Jessica. I move in, I have 5 range, and Thorns procced, of all things. So I pretty much killed myself from that attack, but I did take out the Listel. Unfortunately, Dragon of Darkness Flame. Then move in, do Jigon Eye. Or sorry, Fist of Mortal Flame, which of course will add anti-heal again. So I self-heal. Get anti-healed, and then Healing Light would finish her off. So, I learned something today. And needless to say, I'm in not in good shape. All I have left is kind of close. Close I do have an attack spell with, but this, Now one thing I'm wondering about, so I was really kind of confused. Okay, Sword of the Darkness Flame ignores guard. I didn't realize that. Okay, so here comes Sword of the Darkness Flame, which of course ignores guard. Takes out my TRS. And he gets stunned. Try to finish it off with this. Didn't quite do enough. And then Zerda takes me from 100 to 0 with Shadow Raid of all things. Was not expecting that much, so very quick fight, did not last long. But since I had I was 1 point into rank 2, I'm still, it brought me back down to 1700. If I lose again, I will go down a rank, so I'll probably not do any more this week. But I am back to Gold 2, which is what I was in Season 2, so I am pretty happy about that. Also, I need enchant scrolls badly, so yeah, going from there. But yeah, speaking of the troops I was talking about before, yeah, if I go to Holy Training, I'm at 46%. I literally just need 2 more of these and I'll have completely maxed out that. So definitely look forward to doing some stuff with that. And then I'll probably start working on my flyers next, or maybe my archers. Probably flyers. So, I am the Depressed Dealer, and this was Langrisser Mobile Apex. See you guys later.